Most people trying to eat healthier are working with a broken map, and it's not their fault. The entire conversation around nutrition has been stuck in a loop for decades. Two opposing camps, each convinced the other is wrong, and regular people caught in the middle, confused and frustrated. One group says fat is the enemy. Cut it out, measure it, fear it. The other group says carbohydrates are the problem. Ditch the bread, the fruit, the rice, and for 30 years, millions of people have been choosing one side or the other, following these rules religiously and still not getting the results they want. Here's what's interesting. A large-scale study involving hundreds of thousands of participants tracked over multiple decades recently found something that both camps would rather you didn't hear. It turns out that whether you're cutting carbs or cutting fats, the actual outcomes for your cardiovascular health are nearly identical, and not always in a good way. What actually determined whether someone's heart was protected or damaged wasn't which macronutrient they avoided. It was something far more fundamental than that. The finding completely reframes how we should be thinking about food. Let's start with what the research actually examined. Scientists didn't just ask people to fill out questionnaires and trust their answers. While dietary surveys were part of the data collection, the study also incorporated biological markers measured directly from participants' bodies. This matters because self-reported food data has a well-known reliability problem. People misremember, people underreport, people round things up or down depending on how healthy they want to appear. But your body's internal chemistry doesn't round things up or down. It reflects exactly what you've been putting into it. When researchers analyzed the biological data, they found consistent patterns tied not to how many grams of carbohydrates or fat someone consumed, but to the quality and origin of the foods making up their diet. People eating predominantly whole, minimally processed, plant-forward meals showed measurable improvements in their internal health markers. People eating diets heavy in ultra-processed products and low-quality animal fats showed the opposite, regardless of whether those diets were technically low-carb or low-fat. Two specific markers stood out. The first is a type of cholesterol particle that functions as your body's internal maintenance crew. When this particular particle is abundant in your blood, it actively works to keep your arteries clear and functional. Research consistently shows it goes up when you eat foods like olive oil, legumes, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. The study confirmed that participants with higher quality diets had significantly better levels of this protective particle. The second marker is a blood fat that accumulates when the body is overwhelmed by poor quality inputs, refined sugars, processed oils, heavily manufactured snack foods. When this substance is elevated, it signals that your cardiovascular system is under strain. The study found that participants who ate predominantly processed, low-quality foods had noticeably higher concentrations of this marker, no matter what macronutrient category their diet technically fell into. So the blood work told a very clear story. The type of food mattered. The processing level mattered. The source of the calories mattered. The macronutrient label on the diet? Not nearly as much as we were led to believe. This is what the research is pointing toward. Food quality is the variable we've been underweighting for 30 years. Now, the practical question, what does this actually mean for how you eat from this point forward? The researchers themselves were clear in their recommendations. Rigid macronutrient restriction as a long-term strategy is not delivering the cardiovascular outcomes people expect. Telling someone to eliminate an entire food category, whether it's fat or carbohydrates, and calling that a complete health strategy misses the bigger picture. What needs to change is not the ratio of macronutrients on your plate. What needs to change is the quality tier of the foods you're choosing within any eating pattern. Here's a useful way to think about it. Picture a simple two-column evaluation. On one side, you have foods that are close to their original form. On the other, foods that went through significant industrial transformation before reaching your table. The closer a food is to how it exists naturally, the more reliably your body can use it. The more it's been refined, restructured, bleached, or chemically treated, the harder your body has to work and the more strain it places on your system over time. Let's make this concrete with 3 practical adjustments you can apply this week. First, rethink your grain choices. Grains are not inherently harmful. The issue is processing. Highly refined grains, white flour products, most commercial cereals, many packaged snacks have had their fiber and nutrients stripped out. They digest rapidly and spike blood sugar quickly. The simple upgrade is to move toward intact whole grains, steel-cut oats, whole grain barley, brown rice, frike, bulgur. These digest more slowly, provide sustained energy, and support better blood sugar stability. Second, shift your fat sources. Not all fats behave the same way inside your body. Heavily processed fats, the kind found in industrial seed oils, fast food, and ultra-processed snack products, don't deliver the same biological benefit as fats from whole food sources. Focus on adding fats that come packaged with other nutrients: avocados, walnuts, almonds, flax seeds, extra virgin olive oil, sardines. These are the inputs that support healthy cholesterol balance. Third, diversify your protein. You don't need to make sweeping all-or-nothing changes to your protein sources, but if most of your protein is currently coming from processed meats, sausages, deli cuts, packaged products, introducing more plant-based protein a few days a week has a meaningful impact over time. Lentils, chickpeas, black beans, tempeh, edamame. These come with fiber and antioxidants that processed animal products simply don't provide. Even replacing 2 or 3 meals per week makes a difference, according to the long-term data. What makes this research important isn't just the science, it's the permission it gives people to stop overthinking their food. The diet industry has spent decades profiting from your confusion. Every few years, there's a new system, a new elimination protocol, a new set of rules to memorize. And underneath all of it is a very simple truth that keeps getting buried. Eat food that's close to how it was grown, favor plants, and minimize what came out of a factory. That's the pattern that repeatedly shows up in the research associated with better long-term health outcomes. You don't need a specialized app to track your macros to the decimal point. You don't need to buy a particular brand of protein powder. You don't need to feel guilty eating fruit. What you need is a simple, repeatable habit of choosing whole foods over processed ones more often than not. The 15% reduction in cardiovascular risk found in this research wasn't tied to an extreme protocol. It was tied to consistent, quality-first food choices made over time. Small, sustainable decisions, not dramatic dietary overhauls, are what the data actually supports. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of where nutrition science is actually heading, go ahead and give this video a like. It helps this kind of evidence-based content reach more people who are trying to cut through the noise. And subscribe if you want to keep getting straightforward explanations of health research without the jargon or the fear-mongering. Drop a comment below. What's one whole food you're going to add to your meals this week? Whether it's a handful of walnuts, a bowl of lentil soup, or switching to oats in the morning. Let's hear it. Small changes made consistently are exactly what the research says actually works.